What's up, YouTube? So a few years ago, I made a video about the Omega Speedmaster, and it was basically a quick visual demonstration of the Omega Speedmaster Professional and the Speedmaster Automatic. Since then, I've noticed a few comments kind of expressing some disappointment that there wasn't any sort of commentary or actual review of the two models. So I thought I'd go ahead and do that today. So the Speedmaster Professional and the Speedmaster Automatic, the reduced version, have been around for a really long time, and there's tons of information on the internet, and I'm not really going to get into any of the specs or the details on the movements or things like that. I really just want to focus on my opinion of the two watches and which one I ended up preferring more. So as you can see, I slowed the video down to give myself a little bit more time. Um, the first thing I would point out about these two watches is that they obviously look very similar. They have the same color dial, the text on the watches is similar, the hands look the same, except for the chronograph second hand. The bezel insert is pretty much the same. The style of the case, the brushed and polished surface, there's a lot of similarities between these two watches from a visual and cosmetic perspective. But I feel like the wearing experience and the day-to-day experience of these watches is very, very different. So obviously one of these watches is a manually wound movement, and as a daily wearer, I just prefer automatics. It's one less thing to have to remember to do in the morning, and it's actually happened a few times where I forget to wind the watch and realize at some point in the day my watch has stopped and I have no idea what time it is. Now, I'm sure there's plenty of people out there that have manually wound watches as daily wearers, but for me personally, I just feel like an automatic is an easier way to go. Like I said, these two models are very similar in appearance, but the Speedmaster Professional has a couple of details in the dial that I think really give the dial a more balanced look. The spacing of the chronograph registers, the lack of chopped off hour markers at the 3 and 6 and 9 that the reduced has, the little dots at the 12 o'clock. They're small things, but they really add to the flow and symmetry of the dial of the Speedmaster Professional. One of the things I was kind of surprised about after wearing these two watches for a little while was the difference between the 20 millimeter bracelet of the Professional and the 18 millimeter bracelet on the reduced. It was pretty significant. I found the 18 millimeter version so much more comfortable. The links are smaller and closer together. The bracelet kind of moves a little freer. The 2 millimeters in width doesn't sound like a lot, but on a small wrist it adds up to a much more comfortable wearing experience. The smaller head of the watch also contributes to how it sits on the wrist, and maybe it's just the shape of my wrist, but I felt like the reduced really just sat in the center of my wrist better, and it made it more enjoyable to wear. So at this point, I don't own either of these two watches anymore. I sold them at various points for various reasons, but if I had to buy one of them again, I think I would go with the reduced. It's a little bit cheaper. It's a little bit more under the radar, and it was more comfortable to wear, which is really the most important thing when it comes to a watch purchase. That said, I think that anybody who is watching this video knows the history of the Speedmaster Professional, and if somebody is looking to buy an iconic timepiece like a Rolex Submariner or a Breitling Navitimer, you want the real deal. And as much as I like the reduced version, it's not the Omega Speedmaster Professional Man on the Moon watch. It does not have the engraving on the back. It's a really nice watch in its own right, but if you are in the market for an Omega Speedmaster Professional and are considering the reduced model as an alternative, you probably won't be satisfied and will eventually end up finding the professional version at some point. So hopefully this video adds a little bit of context to the original video, and if you found it useful, please like, comment, or subscribe.